college.
The time by Sagicor is
7.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, St. Elizabeth man accused of burglary, chased, beaten and set on fire. Another deadly shooting in Commodore St. Catherine. Also in the news, Kingston Mayor Andrew Swaby saves infirmary from closure. There's also farming forward with Dussel Mills. And in sports, Andre Russell announces retirement from IPL. Hello from Kingston, Jamaica. This is CVM News at 7 for Sunday, November 30, 2025. I am Caroline Brown. Thanks so much for joining us. The police in St. Catherine are probing a deadly attack at a bar shop in Commodore St. Catherine Saturday night that left the operator dead and an elderly man nursing gunshot wounds. Reports are 51-year-old Andrew Richards, known in the community as Killer, was inside his business place around 10 when gunmen barged in and opened fire. Richards later died at hospital, while an 81-year-old male who was also inside the shop remains admitted. Investigators are working to establish a motive for the attack. Meanwhile, police in St. Elizabeth are investigating a mob killing on Saturday afternoon in the Bonavista housing scheme in Myersville. A man identified as Jermaine Davis, who was accused of burglary, was chased, beaten and set on fire. According to police reports, Davis was seen driving a black Toyota Voxy believed to have been involved in a break-in when residents physically confronted him. He reportedly pulled a knife during the struggle and managed to escape. However, he was later cornered and attacked. Officers who arrived at the scene found Davis bound and badly injured. He was taken to the Mandeville Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Authorities say Jermaine Davis was previously implicated in another burglary in neighboring Manchester. Efforts to rebuild and survival since the most devastating hurricane Jamaica has ever seen may take away from the annual global campaign on domestic violence awareness observed from November 25 to December 10. However, the drive is ongoing to not only protect victims, some of whom became statistics during this very period, but maintain conversations.
Not turn a blind eye to abuse, or do not turn a blind eye to abuse. Your voice can make a difference from all angles.
As a society and as a culture, from we were small children, people tell us to shut up. People don't want us to express emotions. People don't want us to hear what our cries are. People are dismissive. They are saying, you are stressing me out. Don't tell me your problem, I have mine. So we end up in a situation where people feel that they are not seen, they are not heard, and it makes it very difficult for them to reach out when they are in distress, because over time they have been pushed back and their concerns diminished, and people are very dismissive of other people's pain.
Novland Grant is a retired Deputy Police Commissioner with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the JCF, who is now, among other things, a peace ambassador and an advocate and trainer in domestic and sexual abuse prevention.
As family members, friends, community members, people in helping professions, we have to be a little more caring and show concern so that people don't feel helpless. As you may know, Caroline, we run a lot of work with violence prevention, and these issues do come up in our workshops that we have, where we talk about domestic violence, sexual violence, and youth violence.
She explains how during the numerous workshops she has conducted with a group of other women since 1999 in Jamaica and elsewhere in the Caribbean, the issues of childhood trauma from being molested and all types of abuse, hopelessness and unhealthy thoughts resurface in the late teens and early adulthood.
And unfortunately, some people are re-traumatized over and over because perpetrators seem attracted to people who are hurting and continue to put hurt on them. And even some of us who are well-intentioned, because we are not very skilled in how to communicate with people, we add to the problem. Even many of us who we sometimes will unintentionally say something that can trigger others. So regardless of who you are, we have to be very careful how we communicate, what we say, how we provide help and support. But one of the worst things that I think we can do is to be dismissive of people's feelings, and just because it is not an incident or an experience that bothers you does not in any way negate the other person's being bothered by these things.
Experts warn Jamaica must urgently strengthen how science, data and technology are used, especially as Hurricane Melissa continues to expose deep weaknesses in disaster communication and security planning. Now, according to geospatial technology expert and data scientist Dr. Paris Leo Ayi Jr., there is a strong correlation between science and national relief efforts.
We have to have that vision of the integration.
Yes.
Science cannot just be publish and perish. You can't just have that mindset and that's it. You have to understand the downstream impact on national security, economics, well-being and so on. As we move away from direct relief provisioning of food items to people in the affected areas, you reopen the shops so that they can buy food at the shop that's going to be reopened.
The government has introduced a new coupon system, which it says is aimed at making relief distribution fair and accountable. Speaking a few days ago at the opening of the Little London police station, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness emphasizes assistance must never be politicized.
I see so many pictures of persons giving out packages, and it is becoming almost the in thing now on social media. Everybody's giving out a package. No, I think in the initial days it's necessary, but I'm also very concerned about the dignity of our people. You know, I don't like my country to be shown as people running to get food, fighting over a package and those kinds. I don't like that. We are going to shift from the distribution of food packages to giving persons coupons or cards that they can go and buy the stuff that they need.
Mayor of Kingston, Andrew Swaby, through local and international partnerships, has been rebuilding lives and livelihoods in several communities wrecked by Hurricane Melissa. Well, his latest efforts took him outside his municipality. Nika Lewis reports.
Days of support rendered to the victims of Hurricane Melissa in the parishes worst hit by the historic disaster that struck the island on October 28 have yielded fruit, meals, laughter, and continued service in some instances. It was no different when Kingston Mayor Andrew Swaby partnered with the University of the West Indies, Jamaica Forever, and Elegance Bar and Grill in Florida to bring life and hope in areas left dim with damage and death.
I would have announced that there's a partnership with the KCMC and Elegance Bar and Grill coming out of Atlanta. When we had to seek some funding of persons to donate whatever they can towards this drive. And we had announced at the same time that we'll be going to all the parishes, the hardest hit parishes. So today we have started with, yesterday we have started with St. Elizabeth, where we had gone to Safe Harbor, assisted living, nursing home, and we have done the roof because there are a lot of zinc had left that had flown from the hurricane, and we have repaired the roof.
They also donated a stove, mattress, and the gift of a helping hand from St. Elizabeth to Westmoreland. Their touch brought warmth.
It was our disaster preparedness coordinator who had recommended that location. She would have been moving around within St. Elizabeth and in Westmoreland here, and she would have been working out and see some of the needs around, and that's where we are. So for example, today, she was also the one who had reached out to us and say, if we are doing something, can we help out this boys' home?
And as individuals, we decided that we wanted to contribute and play our part as citizens as well. So we discussed what we would like to do, but we wanted to be very intentional about what we do. So while the relief is great, we felt like adopting a facility would be more of helping one person or a group of persons getting back to normalcy. So it's not about feeding, because that is essential, but we wanted to make sure that if they were without shelter, then that's something that we could take on, so that, at least we know this particular group of boys or personnel had a roof over their heads at night.
So yesterday we, as you said, partnered with the KSAMC, and we did restoration of the roof at the Safe Harbor Assisted Living Facility that's in Lacovia, St. Elizabeth. Apart from just the roof, we also did decluttering, we did a deep cleaning, we painted, and we gave out care packages, and it was just really a sense of civic duty for us. Children and the elderly, they are very vulnerable, and to be in a situation as devastating as this, I cannot imagine what they must have went through.
Junior Jones, just joyous now, recounts having to move 9 elderly people, some bedridden, in his care at the Safe Harbor Assisted Living Home in Lacovia, St. Elizabeth, as the storm lifted the roof, beating them with heavy wind and rain.
Move them to the back into a area that will be safe for them.
And you'll have lost the roof?
Yes, completely, the entire roof.
Fast forward to know what is happening here today. Tell me what is happening here.
So today, the mayor from Kingston, which is Mr. Andrew Swaby, I am very grateful to him. So we reached out to him, and he come to assist us with a new roof, stove, get mattress, stylish, and a lot of stuff. And we are very grateful.
If it wasn't for these gestures from the mayor, what do you think would happen?
We would have to close them.
At the Clifton Boys' Home, laughter and smiles filled the air against the grey-brown backdrop, reminding of the recent destruction. The mayor and his partners plan to expand their outreach in the disaster zone. Nika Lewis, CVM News.
Now, the Wambugu apple, a Kenyan-grown fruit known for its resilience and rich flavor, is gaining traction here in Jamaica. Following a briefing at the College of Agriculture, Science and Education in Portland, Wambugu Apple Ambassador Kate Wambugu explained to our news team how this apple could potentially transform local agriculture. Our reporter Kevin Black was present for this special report.
Is my father, who is the founder of this apple. He's called Wambugu, and he's the one who propagated Wambugu apples in 1985, and now going across the world.
Jamaica is now cultivating what was once considered an imported delicacy, the Wambugu apple from Kenya. The fruit is now flourishing in local farms and even in backyard gardens, thanks to an initiative led by Wambugu Apple Ambassador Kate Wambugu. Our news team went to the College of Agriculture, Science and Education in Portland, where she held a briefing and provided additional context on the matter.
Thank God for the government of Jamaica, who gave Latoya the permit. It's called phytosanitary for the importation of apples from Kenya, an encouragement for them to do, and the government, you get also big revenue, and the farmers, you get money. It's good to get rich.
But beyond the taste, it's the adaptability of the Wambugu apple that has made it appealing. The fruit can thrive in almost any climate and a wide range of soil types, requiring only 2 minimal inputs such as water and manure 2 to 3 times per year. Farmers are especially drawn to its ability to bear fruit year-round, ensuring consistent supply and stable market prices.
Wambugu apples can take even a whole week without putting it on the refrigerator, and it has a bigger shelf life, and it's an organic, so it will not oxidize, and it's very crunchy and very sweet. It does well in any climate. That is the uniqueness of Wambugu apples, and it can do well in any talk of the loam soil, talk of the sandy soil, any kind of soil, it can do well. The what you need is manure and watering, especially when it is not raining. So you use water and you do apply manure twice or 3 times in a year, depending on the area you are.
Ms. Wambugu says Wambugu apple farming is profitable, less labor intensive, and a significant step towards food security, making it more than just a new crop, but a new opportunity for Jamaica's agricultural future.
We learned a very big lesson during the COVID that every border had to close. So you and your people, you eat what you have been farming. So for Jamaica, I know and I'm happy that they have embraced this. And in the case of anything, we will be able to sustain the market. And also we are talking of food security. So we need to have to be secure with the food as a country. To the youth, especially here in Jamaica, you have all the energy to do this. Number one, you have technology. You have every talk of AI, talk of so many things you can be able to do with agriculture. So I'm looking upon to the youths in Jamaica who have all the energy to do this.
Wambugu says the apple can help in diversifying Jamaica's fruit production. Kevin Black reporting for CVM News.
So keep chewing on that Wambugu possibility. We'll be right back.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yeah.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing. And the people them I say we are my show tonight. Oh, what a feeling. Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't fit it down. Shine your lights
Welcome back to CVM News at 7. A poultry farmer in Old Harbour, St. Catherine, who survived Melissa, shares her story for Farming Forward with Druselle Mills.
Welcome to another episode of Farming Forward. Meet Sheen Lewis, founder of 100 Pure Eggs. This young farmer survived Hurricane Melissa with her layer chickens going strong. It wasn't always like this, as last year, Hurricane Beryl taught her a hard lesson.
Beryl taught me. It was right here, but it was this side only at the time, and my mommy was the only one down here, and zinc flew, everything flew. Her house was damaged too, but the chickens stopped laying. I don't know if it's a trauma, because you know every little thing traumatized them. So after a while, no eggs, my business started falling. And if you're a business, if you're using this to the business and the chickens are not laid, defeat the purpose, because after a while you still have to feed them.
Asheen explains a somewhat rookie mistake she made last year.
What I did not do, I didn't batten down the coop. What I did not do, I didn't check the roof. I didn't put enough sandbag, even though this one doesn't really have enough, but prior.
She's grateful this year. Prayers, the path of hurricane changing, along with preparation, brought her through. Just like humans, chickens are sensitive living beings. As such, their reaction to trauma is similar to ours. They go through depression.
Initially, I had 50. 2 died, and I had 48, and now we're down to 47. And they're still producing. We're currently at between 85 to 90 in production rate. So almost all of our birds are laying.
You might be as surprised as I was to find out how quickly a hen lay her eggs after mating.
28 hours for an egg to form and the yolk and everything to develop, and they will lay. So every chicken, they don't lay at the same time each day because every one, their 28 hours are different. Yeah, so
it's actually quick.
Yeah, man, it's very quick. An egg a day. So based on the information I post on my page, I said, all right, if you have 50 layers, you should expect around 47 to 49 eggs per day. Yeah, man, per day. They should be in peak. I try to be, innovative, and I get the buckets, and it works for me. Now, you'll find that I have 6 chicken in one bucket. If they're comfortable and they love it, yeah, this one feel like it just lay because it's warm. When they're warm, it just come out. So just lay. So.
Oh, and see this one jumping up because
it's curious. You want to know what? Right.
These are my babies. Thank you for your services.
I found out the signs to look for when the hens are fertilized and ready to lay. My reaction was a bit delayed, but you'll understand just fine.
And this one laid really good. From the combs, the color of the combs.
Oh yes, because it's so red. Is she pregnant now? Because I feel like I'm squeezing you. There you go. Is she pregnant now?
Though Jamaica has an egg shortage issue, Asheen Lewis has a charitable heart that listens to God's direction. He spared her business, so she obeyed and gave families in the West eggs paired with care packages provided by her co-workers from her 9-to-5 job. I'm Druselle Mills. See you next week for more Farming Forward.
News elsewhere in the region now.
We begin with news in the region. In Guyana, Ministry of Health is raising concern after new data revealed a troubling surge in HIV infections. The country recorded almost 500 new cases in the last year alone. News Source Guyana has the details.
As Guyana prepares to join the rest of the world on Monday in observing World AIDS Day, Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony has sounded the alarm over the steep increase in new HIV cases in the country. HIV is a virus that causes AIDS, and according to the health minister, for this year alone, Guyana has recorded 449 new cases of HIV. Adding that there are currently over 10,000 HIV-affected persons living in Guyana. The statistics are worrying for health officials, and Dr. Anthony said it is even more worrying because of the large amount of information on prevention that is now readily available.
In the past year here in Guyana, we would have diagnosed at least 449 new infections. And again, many of this could have been prevented if we get people to understand how to prevent these infections. These statistics have been compiled by UNAIDS, and they're made available so that people can assess where they are, different countries can assess how well they've been doing.
On the international scene, the death toll from devastating floods and landslides in Indonesia has risen to 442 as desperate people hunt for food and water. We hear more from Al Jazeera.
With the skies of Indonesia finally clearing of heavy monsoon rains, the scale of the devastation from flooding and landslides is becoming all too clear. Heavy mudslides swept through entire neighbourhoods on Sumatra Island. In Padang, only a single stretch of wall remains of Afrianti's family home. Her family of 9 has just a small piece of tarp to shelter them.
We have nothing left. Everything is gone. We have only the clothes on our backs. We couldn't bring anything else. When it happened, the water just rose up into the house and we were afraid, so we fled. Then we came back and the house was gone. Destroyed.
Taking in the loss in her village is almost too much for Afrianti to bear.
This place used to be bustling with people bathing, swimming, cars parking. Please don't make me describe this because I can't explain how it feels. I can only imagine the river flowing next to my house.
Even for those whose houses still stand, the devastation and isolation brought by the floods means they need outside help to survive.
We received a little food from the village authorities, but there hasn't been much aid. We rely completely on the evacuation centre for meals.
That's it for regional and international news. I'm Kevin Black.
Orange Bar, Jamaica, a young mother had to pull on her survival skills to shield her newborn when Hurricane Melissa tore through her house in one of the western parishes as it unleashed some of its strongest winds.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can.
Janice Drummond is a resident of Chester Castle, Hanover, a mother of a 4 and a 1 month and 2 weeks old baby. She felt the violent and the impartial sides of Melissa.
The hurricane wasn't good at all. It wasn't a good experience, especially with my baby. So I was home. I live in a board house. Because we live on a hill and so forth. To be honest, we never take this storm so serious.
The eye-opening encounter left her with enough evidence to teach her girls practical history lessons.
Well, good thing we have a concrete bathroom. When the storm come and the house was moving, because Melissa have 3 different sounds. It have one where make the woo sound, and you have one where sound like a one drill, like it a dig, that one they take with everything. And you have a next one that sound like the cow bawling. My God. One till listen Melissa gone with the house. And then he took out the bathroom door. Man, the baby was soaking wet inside the bathroom.
So how did you manage in the bathroom, you, your mom, and the baby?
Well, I had to take cover in the shower. Even though the breeze was heavy and like it was pulling everything from out of the bathroom. But I had to lie flat in the bathroom with my baby. So I was on my baby. I didn't know where my mom was because I was trying to cover my baby. So we were just soaking wet. And we just have a whole lamp of victory.
That laughter, like tears, represent unspeakable suffering, not only for her family.
We have to just thank God for life, because many out there don't have no house, no clothes, no nothing.
She's not even trying to imagine if the hours of strong wind and heavy rainfall had lasted longer.
When I went outside, after everything, everywhere was just flat. It's like a fire was light and just burned down up to the grass. It was brown like there was a fire. Everywhere is just flat. So everything was just flat. You can see all the way in Anchovy from my end.
Well, right now, she lived in Chester Castle. Thankful, a relative in the corporate area has taken in the 4 of them, and there is access to health care if necessary.